the church key in his pocket. Benjamin Cole found the old church key still on his keychain after 10 years, hanging between a rusted apartment key and a bent bottle opener. Just as he stood outside the boarded-up doors of New Mercy Church in Detroit with a stolen backpack under his arm and sirens crying somewhere beyond the empty lots. The key was brass, dulled green at the edges, its teeth worn from hundreds of Sunday mornings when he used to unlock the basement for youth group. When teenagers came in shaking snow from their coats, when the radiator clanked like an old man clearing his throat, and when Benjamin still believed that if he kept the coffee hot, the basketballs inflated, and the prayers honest, Jesus would keep every kid who trusted him from falling through the cracks. Rain had frozen into needles as it fell. A February wind moved down Gresham Avenue, rattling plywood over the church windows and dragging trash against the curb. Across the street, the neon sign of a liquor store blinked one letter short, promising COD beer in electric red. A bus groaned past without stopping. Somewhere behind the church, a dog barked in a yard that had lost its fence years ago. The streetlights made halos in the sleet, and Benjamin, who had not stepped this close to the church since the night he walked away from it, stared at the key as if it had accused him by name. He should have thrown it away. He had told himself he had thrown it away. He remembered standing in his old apartment after the breakup, after the layoffs, after the first charge, after Pastor Elias stopped calling every week and began leaving messages that sounded less like correction and more like grief. Benjamin had emptied drawers into garbage bags and swept a life into corners. He had found old sermon notes, camp permission slips, a photo of the youth group at Belle Isle, his worn Bible with underlined pages, and the church key. He had meant to toss it all. He must have kept the key without knowing. Or maybe some part of him knew and had carried it like a buried coal, waiting for one cruel night to glow. The backpack under his arm was black with a purple ribbon tied to one zipper. It was heavier than he expected, and his right shoulder ached from running 2 blocks through sleet after snatching it from the back seat of a parked minivan near a clinic. He had not broken the window. Ray had. Ray always moved faster and thought less, a talent Benjamin used to envy and now feared. The plan had been simple. Hit 2 cars near the medical center, grab electronics, wallets, anything that could be traded before morning. Benjamin hated clinics. People came out distracted, tired, carrying bags, babies, prescriptions, bad news. Easy targets. He hated that he knew that. He hated more that he had still stood watch. Then the alarm chirped. Someone shouted. Ray shoved the backpack into Benjamin's chest and hissed, "Run." Benjamin ran because running had become his most practiced prayer. Now Ray was gone into the weather, and Benjamin had ducked into the shadow of the only place in the neighborhood he had once promised never to betray. New Mercy Church did not look like Mercy anymore. The front doors were boarded with plywood painted gray and tagged over in silver. One stained glass window survived above the entrance, a narrow panel of Christ holding a lantern, but the lower half had cracked, leaving Jesus' hand split by a jagged line. The cornerstone read 1918. A paper notice from the city, laminated and weather-curled, warned of unsafe conditions and no trespassing. Weeds pushed through cracks in the steps. The church sign, once changed weekly by a deacon with opinions, now hung crooked. New Mercy Church, community entrance in rear. Beneath it, someone had spray-painted, "God left." Benjamin looked at the key again. No, he whispered. He did not know whether he was speaking to the key, to the church, to Jesus, or to the version of himself that used to open those doors. His phone buzzed. Ray. Benjamin ignored it. The phone buzzed again. He ducked around the side of the church, past the old fellowship hall windows covered in boards, past a downspout hanging loose, to the basement entrance under a rusted awning. The metal door there was scratched, dented, and chained from the outside, but the chain hung loose. The city had boarded the main doors after the roof leak and the electrical fire. The side door, if memory served, had 2 locks. One deadbolt had been replaced years ago. The lower lock was old. He did not mean to try the key. His hand moved before his judgment caught up. The key slid in. For one breath, nothing happened. Then the lock turned with a rough metallic sigh. Benjamin closed his eyes. The wind pushed sleet down the back of his collar. His phone buzzed again. He opened the basement door and stepped into the dark. The smell hit him first. Dust, damp wood, old carpet, mildew, and underneath it all the faint ghost of coffee, floor wax, and pancake breakfasts. He turned on his phone light. The beam cut across a stairwell littered with leaves and plaster flakes. At the bottom, the basement opened into a room he knew too well and not at all. Folding tables leaned against one wall. The ceiling tiles sagged in places. The mural the youth group had painted in 2012 still stretched across the far wall. A city skyline, the Detroit River, a sunrise behind block letters that said, "Love never fails." Someone had drawn a mustache on one of the painted angels. A corner of the mural had peeled from water damage, but the words remained. Love never fails. Benjamin almost laughed. Love had failed plenty, from what he had seen. It failed when landlords raised rent and mothers chose between gas and groceries. It failed when factories closed and men learned to drink their shame. It failed when boys from youth group disappeared into county jail, addiction, violence, or the quiet despair of 18-year-olds who had stopped believing any adult meant what they said. It failed when his little brother Marcus got shot outside a party over a misunderstanding no one could even explain 2 weeks after Benjamin preached to the youth group about peace. It failed when Benjamin, who had spent years telling kids God had a purpose for them, stood beside Marcus's coffin and heard nothing from heaven but the hum of funeral home lights. After Marcus died, Benjamin kept showing up for 6 months. He unlocked the basement. He played basketball with boys who saw grief in his eyes and stopped asking questions. He led prayers he did not feel. He told them Jesus was near to the brokenhearted while refusing to admit how far away Jesus seemed from him. Then one night, after a 17-year-old named Jamal was arrested for armed robbery, Benjamin found himself alone in the youth room, looking at a circle of empty chairs. Pastor Elias came downstairs and said, "You are allowed to be angry with God, Ben. Just don't walk away from the only one who can hold it." Benjamin had snapped. Where was he when Marcus died? Where was he when Jamal needed more than pizza and Bible verses? Where was he when we prayed every Thursday and still buried kids on Saturday? Pastor Elias had tears in his eyes. On the cross, in the grave, in every mother's cry. With us still. That's not enough, Benjamin said. No, Elias said softly. Sometimes it does not feel like enough. But it is true. Benjamin walked out and did not return. 10 years later, the basement stood around him like a witness that had waited too long. He set the backpack on a table near the old snack counter. He needed to see what was inside. If there was a laptop, he could sell it by morning. If there were credit cards, Ray would want them. If there was cash, he could pay the $200 he owed Malik before Malik stopped sending texts and started sending men. His rent was 6 days late. His stomach was empty except for gas station coffee. His life had narrowed to a series of urgent hungers, each one louder than conscience. He unzipped the main pocket. No laptop, no wallet, a child's pink knit hat, a folder of discharge papers, a plastic bag from the pharmacy, a small stuffed rabbit with one ear chewed, a bottle of children's antibiotics, an inhaler with a spacer, a box labeled for a nebulizer mask, a smaller insulated pouch with a pharmacy sticker, amoxicillin, albuterol, prednisolone. Patient, Ava Martin. Age, 6. Address, 8227, Camden Street. Benjamin sat down. The basement seemed to tilt slightly. He stared at the medicine, then at the purple ribbon tied to the zipper, then at the discharge papers. Children's Hospital of Michigan. Bronchitis with asthma complications. Follow-up urgent if breathing worsens. Give medication as prescribed. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered. "Oh, what?" he said. Ray's voice came fast. "You got the bag?" "Ah, yes." "What's in it?" "Nothing. Don't lie. It's medicine." "Ah, what kind?" "Kid stuff." "Anything we can move?" "Ah, no." "Check the side pockets. Moms keep cash." Benjamin looked at the bag as if it were suddenly alive. "There's a kid's medicine, Ray." "Ah, so? So we return it." Ray laughed. "Return it? What? Leave a thank you note too." "Ah, I'm serious." "So am I. If there's no money, dump it. Meet me at the usual spot." Benjamin looked at the pharmacy label again. Ava Martin. Camden Street was less than a mile away, near the church neighborhood. He knew those houses. Small brick bungalows, some boarded, some stubbornly tinted with plastic flowers and porch lights. A child there was waiting for medicine. Or her mother was calling the clinic, the pharmacy, the police, retracing steps in the rain, blaming herself. "Ben," Ray said lower now. "Don't get soft. Soft gets you locked up or dead." Benjamin almost said he had already been both in different ways. I'll call you back. Bring the bag. Benjamin hung up. For several minutes, he did not move. The basement hummed with old silence. Sleet struck the door above the stairs. Somewhere overhead, water dripped steadily into a bucket. His phone light dimmed. He shook it awake, and the beam landed on the mural again. Love never fails. He wanted to throw the backpack into the alley and tell himself he had not known. He wanted to sell the inhaler or the nebulizer or whatever could be sold, because desperation was skilled at turning other people's needs into objects. He wanted to call Ray and let Ray decide, because then guilt could be shared and therefore less sharp. He wanted to be the kind of man who had never stolen medicine from a sick child in the first place. From the hallway beyond the basement room came a sound. A single piano note. Benjamin froze. There had been a piano in the youth room, an old upright with 2 dead keys and a carved cross on the side. It had belonged to Sister Lorraine, who played hymns too slowly and scolded kids for setting soda cans on it. The church had sold or moved most valuables after closing. Benjamin was sure the piano was gone. Another note sounded. Then another. Not a song exactly, just 3 notes, hesitant, like someone testing whether a melody still lived. Benjamin stood. He picked up his phone and moved toward the sound. The hallway led past classrooms with doors hanging open, past a storage closet, past the room where they once kept donated coats. At the end was the old youth room. The piano was still there. It stood against the wall under a faded poster that read, "Let the little children come to me." Its wood had warped. Dust covered the top. The bench was shoved sideways. No one sat there. Benjamin swallowed. He told himself it was water in the pipes. Mice. Wood shifting. Anything. The piano remained silent. He stepped into the room. His phone light swept over stacks of old curriculum, a deflated basketball, a pile of hymnals, and a bulletin board where curled photographs still clung under yellowed tape. Teenagers smiled from another life. Jamal holding a slice of pizza, Keisha making rabbit ears behind Pastor Elias, Benjamin with a shaved head and a youth leader badge, Marcus leaning in from the edge of the photo with a grin too bright to belong to the dead. Benjamin took the photo down. Dust coated his fingers. Marcus had been 19 when he died, but in the picture he was 16, wearing a hoodie and holding a Bible upside down as a joke. Benjamin's chest tightened. He heard himself say, "I tried." The room did not answer. He remembered the verse Pastor Elias made them memorize one winter after a fight broke out near the church steps. "Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good." Romans 12:21. Benjamin had made the kids repeat it while they rolled their eyes. Marcus had turned it into a rap beat on the piano, pounding the rhythm until everyone laughed. "Do not be overcome, come. Overcome with good, good, good." Benjamin looked down at the medicine in his hands. "Lord Jesus," he whispered, and the words felt like prying open a door swollen shut. "I don't know if I'm talking to you, or just remembering how. But if that child needs this, don't let me be worse than I already am." It was not a noble prayer. It was not polished. It was the first honest thing he had said to God in years. He shoved the medicine back into the backpack, zipped it, and ran. The sleet had turned to hard rain. Benjamin cut through the alley behind the church, over a collapsed fence, across a vacant lot where weeds slapped his jeans. Twice he slipped in mud. His lungs burned. He kept one arm wrapped around the backpack as if someone might snatch it from him and make the choice easier. Camden Street was 8 blocks away. He knew the fastest route. Past the boarded laundromat, across the old schoolyard, down the block where porch lights glowed like small acts of defiance. Halfway there, Ray appeared from the shadow of a closed barber shop. "Where you going?" Ray demanded. Benjamin stopped, breathing hard. Ray wore a black hoodie under a leather jacket, rain shining on his face. He looked past Benjamin to the backpack. "You said nothing in it." Medicine. I'm taking it back." Ray stared, then laughed once without humor. "You serious?" "I'll move." "Ben, you lost your mind. You return that. They see your face." Cameras maybe. Cops maybe. You want to go back?" No." "Then dump it. A kid needs it. A kid you don't know." Benjamin's grip tightened. "That makes it okay." Ray stepped closer. "You owe Malik. You owe me. You owe everybody because you keep acting like you got morals you can't afford." The words hit because they were nearly true. Morals did feel expensive when rent was late and hunger kept time. But Benjamin looked down at the purple ribbon on the zipper and saw not a bag, not a problem, not a risk, but a mother's panic and a child's breathing. I used to know a kid named Marcus, he said. Ray frowned. What? My brother. He needed somebody to choose right before it got too late. Nobody did. Not me. Not enough. Benjamin lifted his eyes. I'm not selling a child's breath. Ray's face hardened. You think one good deed makes you clean? No. Then what's the point? Benjamin had no answer except the one moving his feet. Move. For a second, he thought Ray might hit him. Instead, Ray spat into the rain. You bring heat back to me. We're done. We should have been done. Ray shook his head. Church boy finally wakes up in a gutter and thinks Jesus clapped. Benjamin stepped around him. Ray did not stop him. By the time Benjamin reached Camden Street, his clothes clung to him and his hands were numb. Number 8227 was a narrow brick house with peeling white trim. A porch light burned. Through the front window, he saw movement. A woman pacing with a phone pressed to her ear, another older woman seated on the couch holding a small child wrapped in a blanket. The child's face was flushed. Benjamin froze at the bottom of the steps. He could leave the backpack and run. That would return the medicine without exposing himself. Be safer. He placed the bag on the porch, reached for the bell, and stopped. Grace is not hiding behind the right thing, a voice in him seemed to say, though he did not know whether it was memory, conscience, or Christ. He rang. The door opened almost immediately. The woman was in her 30s, hair tied back messily, eyes wild with fear. She held the phone in one hand. For 1 second, she looked only at the backpack. Then at Benjamin. My bag, she said. I'm sorry, he began. She snatched it up, unzipped it, and dug through. Mama, it's here. The older woman on the couch cried out. Thank you, Jesus. The little girl coughed, a tight, frightening sound. The mother pulled out the inhaler and medicine, hands shaking so badly she dropped the spacer. Benjamin bent to pick it up, but she stepped back sharply. Don't. He held up both hands. Okay. She stared at him. Recognition dawned slowly, not of his face perhaps, but of what he was. The man connected to the missing bag. He took it. Benjamin swallowed. Yes. The phone was still against her palm. A dispatcher's voice crackled faintly, asking if she was there. The woman lifted it. I got the medicine back, she said. No, don't cancel. I don't know. She looked at Benjamin. I don't know. A car moved slowly down the street, headlights cutting through rain. Benjamin stood on the porch, soaked, exposed, every instinct screaming run. The older woman came to the door. She was heavy-set, with gray hair wrapped in a scarf and a Bible verse printed on her sweatshirt. God is our refuge and strength. She looked at Benjamin long and hard. What's your name, baby? He almost lied. The false names rose like old smoke. Instead he said, Benjamin Cole. The mother's eyes narrowed. You stole my daughter's medicine. Yes. Why? There were explanations. Hunger. Debt. Bad company. Desperation. Habit. The city's hard edges. His own grief. None of them belonged on that porch in front of a coughing child. Because I chose wrong, he said. The answer seemed to strike her. Anger and confusion crossed her face. You expect me to thank you for bringing it back? No. Good. I'll wait for the police if you want. The older woman looked at the mother. Tanya, get Ava settled first. Tanya hesitated, torn between fury and fear. The child coughed again. That decided her. She stepped back inside, leaving the older woman at the door. The woman studied Benjamin. You from around here? I was. New Mercy. His head lifted. You know it. I raised 3 boys in that basement. Pastor Elias baptized my youngest. Church closed after the fire damage, but we still pray it open again when we're feeling stubborn. Her gaze sharpened. You were a youth leader there. Benjamin looked away. A long time ago. I thought so. You had a brother. Marcus. Pain moved through him. Yes, ma'am. I'm Mrs. Martin. Ava is my granddaughter. Tanya is my daughter. Her husband left last year, and that medicine in that bag cost her 2 bus rides, 3 hours, and half a day of work she couldn't afford to miss. Her voice did not rise. It did not need to. You brought back what you took. That matters. It does not erase that you took it. I know. Do you? He nodded, rain running down his face like tears he had not earned. Mrs. Martin looked toward the street. Police may still come. Tanya called them when she thought the bag was gone. I won't tell her what to do. I understand. Do you have somewhere to go? The question nearly undid him. He expected accusation. It prepared for cuffs, curses, a door slammed in his face. Concern was harder to stand under. No, he said honestly. Not really. Mrs. Martin sighed. Lord, you do send people at inconvenient hours. Then she pointed toward the sidewalk. There's a covered bus stopped 2 blocks down. If the police come, they'll find you there if you choose not to run. If they don't, you come to New Mercy tomorrow at 10. He blinked. New Mercy is closed. Basement door still opens if you know which key to use. Benjamin's hand moved involuntarily toward his pocket. Mrs. Martin saw. Her expression changed. Maybe you do. The door closed softly. Benjamin walked to the bus stop and sat under the scratched plexiglass roof while rain fell around him. He waited. A police cruiser passed once, slowed, then continued. Maybe Tanya had given a vague description. Maybe the officers had higher priorities. Maybe Mercy looked like time to choose the next right thing. He did not know. At dawn, cold and shaking, he returned to the boarded church. He slept for 2 hours in the basement on an old vinyl couch that smelled of dust and youth retreats. When he woke, light filtered through cracks in the boards. His body hurt. His stomach cramped with hunger. For a moment he did not remember where he was. Then he saw the mural. Love never fails. At 10, he heard voices at the basement door. Mrs. Martin entered first, carrying a grocery bag. Behind her came Pastor Elias Carter. Benjamin sat up too fast. Pastor Elias had aged. His hair, once black, was white at the temples. He walked with a cane now, his left leg stiff, but his eyes were the same. Deep brown, sad and steady, capable of seeing too much and loving anyway. He wore a dark overcoat over a clerical collar, though New Mercy had not held regular services in years. In one hand, he carried a thermos. In the other, a ring of keys. He stopped at the bottom of the stairs. Benjamin, he said. The name in his voice brought back 10 years at once. Youth group prayers, hospital visits, funeral hymns, voicemail messages Benjamin never returned. Pastor. Elias looked around the basement, then at the couch, then at Benjamin's wet clothes. Mrs. Martin told me some of it. She should have told you all of it. She told me enough to bring coffee and not a sermon. Mrs. Martin snorted. That'll be the day. She went to the snack counter and began unpacking the grocery bag. Bananas, peanut butter crackers, a sandwich wrapped in foil. Benjamin stared. I stole from your family, he said. Mrs. Martin looked at him. You returned what mattered most. Now eat before you pass out and make more work. I don't deserve. Food ain't about deserve, she said sharply. Ask Jesus. He fed crowds before they understood a thing. Benjamin took the sandwich with shaking hands. Pastor Elias sat across from him at a folding table. For a while they ate in silence. Elias poured coffee into a paper cup and slid it over. Benjamin wrapped his hands around it. Finally he said, I have to confess. Elias nodded. All right. So Benjamin told the truth. Not all at once, and not cleanly, but enough to begin. He told about Ray, the thefts, the debt, the stolen backpack, the medicine, the church key, the piano note, the return. He told about Marcus, though Elias knew that pain already. He told about walking away, about losing jobs, sleeping in cars, stealing not because he enjoyed it, but because it became easier than asking for help, and then because it became habit. He told about shame so thick it felt like a second skin. Elias listened without interrupting. Mrs. Martin stood by the counter, arms folded, occasionally saying, in a way that made lies impossible. When Benjamin finished, the basement felt quieter. I'm not asking you to fix it, Benjamin said. I just didn't know where else to go. Pastor Elias leaned both hands on his cane. Good. Benjamin looked up, startled. Good. You came where truth could find you. That is good. I stole medicine from a child. Yes. I've been stealing for months. Yes. I left the church. Yes. Pastor, you're supposed to say something harder. Elias's eyes filled. Benjamin, I buried your brother. I watched you try to carry that grief like a man carrying a burning house on his back. I called until my voice felt useless. I was angry with you. I was afraid for you. Some nights I was angry with God too. He drew a breath. Hard truth. Here it is. You have done harm. You must make restitution. You may face legal consequences. You need to separate from the people pulling you deeper. You need help I cannot provide alone. You need to stop confusing shame with repentance. Shame says, I am beyond love, so why change? Repentance says, I have been loved even here, so I must turn. Benjamin stared at the coffee. Elias continued, softer now. You still have the key? Benjamin pulled it from his keychain and placed it on the table. I don't know why. I do. Why? Because somewhere in you, the door was not finished with you. Mrs. Martin wiped the counter briskly. And because the Lord wastes nothing, not even forgotten keys. Benjamin let out a broken laugh. What now? Now, Elias said, we call Tanya and ask what restitution looks like for her. We call a lawyer before you speak to police. We call someone about detox if you need it. I'm not using drugs. Alcohol. Benjamin looked away. Elias waited. Sometimes. More than sometimes. We address that too. We call Malik. Benjamin's head snapped up. You mentioned the debt, Elias said. If someone may harm you, we plan wisely. I brought this mess here. Yes. And secrets feed mess. Truth starves it. Mrs. Martin set a banana in front of Benjamin. Eat that too. By noon, Benjamin had made the hardest phone call of his life. Tanya Martin answered with exhaustion in her voice. Benjamin apologized without asking her to make him feel better. He said he would pay for the window Ray broke if the car had been damaged, repay any costs, and turn over information about where the theft happened. Tanya was silent for a long time. My daughter slept after the treatment, she said. She's breathing better. Benjamin closed his eyes. Thank God. Yes, Tanya said. Thank God. Not you. I know. I don't know what I want from you. Money, yes, but that's not enough. I want you to understand that poor people do not have spare emergencies. You took the one bag I couldn't lose. I understand more now. I want to keep understanding. You can start by showing up Saturday. The basement at New Mercy. My mother says they're cleaning it. Benjamin looked at Elias, confused. Elias lifted his brows as if this were news to him too. Tanya continued. If that church basement opened again, families like mine could get help without 3 buses. You used to be a youth leader, right? Yes. Then lift boxes. Scrub floors. Do something useful where you did harm. I will. I don't forgive you today, she said. That's okay. No, it isn't. But it's honest. She hung up. Benjamin sat with the phone in his hand. Mrs. Martin nodded. My daughter has her father's temper and my common sense. Good combination when the Holy Ghost keeps it aimed. Pastor Elias looked around the basement. Cleaning day Saturday then. I thought the building was unsafe, Benjamin said. Parts are. Sanctuary needs roof work. But the basement passed inspection for limited community use once before. We lost momentum. Lost volunteers. Lost funding. Lost heart. Elias smiled faintly. Perhaps we found a little trouble that can be turned into labor. So it began, not with a revival service or a miracle headline, but with trash bags, bleach, work gloves, and a man who had stolen medicine learning how to mop under folding tables. Saturday morning, 10 people came. Mrs. Martin arrived with Tanya, who kept her distance, and Ava, who wore a pink hat and carried the stuffed rabbit from the backpack. Pastor Elias came with 2 deacons from a partner church. A retired electrician named Mr. Paul inspected outlets. A woman from the neighborhood brought donuts. 3 teenagers came because Mrs. Martin told them they were coming, and apparently that remained law in several households. Benjamin arrived early. He had not slept much. Ray had called 6 times and then sent a text. You think church makes you safe? Benjamin showed Elias, who helped him file a report and contact someone connected to a community reentry program. Malik's debt remained. The danger remained. But for the first time in years, Benjamin was not managing danger alone. They opened windows that had not opened in years. Cold air moved through the basement, carrying out dust. They filled contractor bags with ruined papers, broken toys, moldy cardboard, and old event flyers. They saved what could be saved. Hymnals, folding chairs, youth group photos, blankets still sealed in plastic, a box of children's books, the old popcorn machine, a stack of Bibles with cracked covers. Benjamin scrubbed the snack counter until his shoulders burned. Around noon, Ava wandered near him, holding her rabbit. My mama says you took my bag, she said. The room seemed to quiet in Benjamin's ears. He crouched so he was not towering over her. Tanya watched from across the room, alert. Yes, Benjamin said. I did something wrong. I'm very sorry. Ava studied him with solemn eyes. Why? Because I was hungry. Because I was scared. Because I forgot people were people. Because sin makes neighbors into objects. Because I stopped listening to Jesus. Because I thought my need was louder than yours. He said, because I made a bad choice and didn't think about how it would hurt you. She hugged the rabbit. I needed my breathing thing. I know. I'm glad you got it back. My grandma said Jesus made you bring it. Benjamin glanced at Mrs. Martin, who was pretending not to listen while aggressively wiping a windowsill. Maybe he helped me stop running, Benjamin said. Ava nodded as if that made sense. You should not take bags. Ah, no, he said. I should not. She reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small sticker shaped like a star. She stuck it to the back of his glove. For bringing it back. Tears stung his eyes. Thank you. Tanya looked away, her jaw tight. The basement slowly changed. By late afternoon, the floor was clean enough to show its old shine. The mural had been wiped down. Someone fixed the buzzing fluorescent light. A table near the entrance held canned soup, diapers, donated winter hats, and a sign handwritten by Mrs. Martin. New Mercy Basement Resource Hours, Saturdays 1:02. No judgment. No nonsense. No judgment and no nonsense. Benjamin read. Mrs. Martin nodded. That's the gospel when I'm tired. Pastor Elias laughed. I may put that on a banner. Weeks passed. Benjamin kept coming. Not because everything in him had changed overnight, but because Saturday gave him a place to put repentance into motion. He also reported to a community accountability program Pastor Elias helped arrange. With legal counsel, he gave a statement about the theft and Ray's involvement. For consequences. Probation review, restitution agreement, community service hours, a warning from the judge that mercy was not the same as dismissal. Benjamin accepted them. He found part-time work through Mr. Paul cleaning out foreclosed houses and repairing what could be repaired. The pay was low, but it was honest, and honest money felt strange in his hand at first, almost too light. He stopped drinking with help from a recovery group that met in the basement on Tuesday nights. The first meeting, he sat near the exit, arms crossed, prepared to dislike everyone. A woman named Denise said, I drank because grief made my house too quiet. A mechanic named Art said, I stole because I thought needing help made me less of a man. Benjamin uncrossed his arms. When his turn came, he said only, I'm Benjamin, and I'm tired of being locked out of rooms I still have keys to. No one laughed. They understood. Ray was arrested a month later on unrelated charges. Malik sent one more threat, then backed off after Pastor Elias, Mr. Paul, and an officer from the community program visited the corner where Malik's cousin ran dice games and made it clear Benjamin's debt was being addressed through legal mediation, not street collection. Benjamin hated needing that kind of help. He also knew pride had nearly killed him more than once. New Mercy's basement became warmer. Not perfect. The boiler still clanged. The roof still leaked in the sanctuary. The city still had forms, inspections, and bills. But on Saturdays, families came for diapers, formula, canned food, bus cards, prayer if they wanted it, coffee even if they didn't. Tanya began managing a small medicine support shelf, not prescription medicine, but information. Clinic numbers, pharmacy discount cards, transportation schedules, asthma resources, emergency contacts. No child loses breath because a parent has to ride 3 buses blind, she said. Benjamin built the shelf. Ava called him Mr. Key because she once saw him unlock the basement. The name spread. Teenagers used it when they wanted to annoy him. Mr. Key were the trash bags. Mr. Key, the mop broke. Mr. Key, can we use the gym if it ever opens? Mr. Key, you got snacks? The first time a boy asked about youth night, Benjamin nearly dropped a box. His name was Darius, 15, sharpied, restless, always hungry, always testing which adults would flinch. This place used to have youth group, right? Darius asked. A long time ago. You ran it. Helped. Why'd it stop? Benjamin looked at the mural. A lot stopped. That's not an answer. No, Benjamin said. It's not. Darius waited. Benjamin chose honesty. My brother died. I got angry. I walked away. Other people got tired. Building had problems. Money ran out. But I walked away. Darius considered. You coming back? The question was simple. The answer was not. Benjamin looked across the basement at Pastor Elias helping Mrs. Martin argue with a folding table, at Tanya showing a mother how to read a bus schedule, at Ava coloring at a corner table, at the mural still proclaiming what Benjamin had stopped trusting. I think I am, he said. Darius nodded. Then you should run youth night. People out here bored enough to do stupid stuff. I know. You got pizza? Not yet. Get pizza. The first youth night happened in April with 7 teenagers, 3 pizzas, 2 flat basketballs, a speaker that only worked if propped against a hymnal, and Benjamin's hands shaking as he prayed over the food. He did not give a speech. He did not pretend to be the confident leader from old photos. He said, I used to think faith meant having answers ready. I don't. But I know Jesus kept a door open for me when I didn't deserve it. So this basement is open. You can eat. You can talk. You can sit quiet. You can ask hard things. You cannot hit each other with pizza crusts. Darius immediately asked whether throwing napkins counted. Mrs. Martin, who had volunteered as adult presence and foolishness preventer, said yes, it counted. They ate. They argued about music. They played cards. One girl asked if God hated people who made bad choices. Benjamin thought of the stolen backpack, the old key, the cross above the boarded sanctuary. No, he said. But he loves us too much to pretend bad choices don't hurt people. Jesus doesn't call us trash. He calls us out. The girl frowned. Out where? Into truth. Into help. Into making things right. Into life. She considered. That sounds hard. It is. Better than fake easy. Benjamin smiled sadly. I'm learning that. Spring touched Detroit slowly. Snowbanks became gray piles, then water. Grass pushed through vacant lots. The air smelled of rain, exhaust, and new leaves. New Mercy's basement door opened more often. Volunteers painted the stairwell. Mr. Paul fixed the wiring in 2 classrooms. A local grocery donated produce twice a month. A nurse from the clinic came to teach parents about asthma care and medication safety. Benjamin stood in the back during the session, unable to stop thinking about the purple ribbon on Ava's backpack. Tanya noticed. Afterward, she approached him. You still look like somebody punched you every time we talk medicine. I deserve worse. She sighed. Benjamin. He looked up. It was the first time she had used his full name without sharpness. I'm not going to spend my life making your apology the center of mine, she said. Ava is better. The bag came back. You are doing the work. I still get angry when I remember that night. But I also see you here every week. Both are true. I nodded slowly. Thank you. I'm not done. Okay. If you ever use my daughter's story to make yourself look redeemed, I will personally introduce you to the wrath of a tired Detroit mother. A laugh broke out of him. Yes, ma'am. But if you keep helping other families breathe easier, then... She paused. Then maybe God is doing something bigger than what you ruined. Benjamin swallowed. I hope so. So do I. On Easter Sunday, New Mercy opened the sanctuary for the first time in years, not officially as a full reopening, but for a sunrise prayer service before the partner church's main worship. The roof had been patched enough for safety. The pews were dusty but usable. The cracked stained glass window above the front doors had been repaired by a local artist who filled the broken place in Jesus' hand with amber glass, so that when morning light passed through, the crack glowed brighter than the rest. Benjamin arrived before dawn with Pastor Elias. Together they unlocked the front doors. The boards had been removed the day before, leaving outlines on the wood like scars. The key turned in the old lock. For a moment Benjamin could not move. Elias stood beside him. You all right? No. Good enough. Benjamin breathed in. Good enough. They opened the doors. Cold air moved through the sanctuary. Dust rose in the first light. The room smelled old, wounded, waiting. People came slowly. Mrs. Martin in a white hat, Tanya and Ava, Darius and 4 teenagers pretending they had not dressed carefully, Mr. Paul, Denise from recovery, neighbors, former members, curious strangers, a few people who had once slept near the church steps. Someone brought a keyboard because the organ did not work. Someone brought lilies. Someone brought coffee because resurrection, Mrs. Martin said, should not be attempted uncaffeinated. Pastor Elias read from the Gospel of John, the story of Mary Magdalene weeping at the tomb and mistaking the risen Jesus for the gardener. Benjamin heard it differently than he ever had. Mary weeping in a place she thought only held death. Jesus calling her name. A garden becoming the first place resurrection was spoken aloud. Sometimes, Elias said, standing beneath the patched window, we come to God with places we call finished. A boarded church. A broken family. A stolen bag. A guilty conscience. A grave. But Easter tells us that Jesus is not frightened by sealed doors or final words. He enters. He calls by name. He sends us back into the world not to hide our wounds, but to bear witness that mercy has met us there. Benjamin looked down at his hands. They were scarred from work now, not clean but useful. After the brief service, they sang Amazing Grace. The keyboard was thin, the voices uneven. Benjamin did not sing at first. He looked at the stained glass. Christ holding a lantern, the amber repair in his hand blazing as the sun rose. Then Ava slipped her small hand into his. She sang loudly, getting half the words wrong. Benjamin joined. The sound shook in him. Later, in the basement, they served pancakes. Darius burned the first batch. Mrs. Martin declared them offerings of humility and made him try again. Tanya laughed. Pastor Elias drank bad coffee with visible gratitude. Benjamin stood by the snack counter, watching people eat at folding tables that had once sat under dust. A church was not fully reopened because one service happened. A man was not fully healed because he sang one hymn. A neighborhood was not transformed because a basement had diapers and bus schedules. But something had turned. A key had turned. A door had opened. That afternoon, Benjamin walked alone through the sanctuary. Sunlight colored the floor. The air was quiet except for traffic beyond the walls. He stopped near the front pew where he used to sit with Marcus when their mother was too tired to make them behave. Marcus would drum rhythms on the pew until Benjamin elbowed him. Benjamin could almost hear it now. "I'm sorry," he whispered. He had said it many times, to air, to God, to memory. This time the words did not echo back empty. He knelt, awkwardly, because he was out of practice and because standing felt too proud. "Lord Jesus, I thought you left when the pain got too big. Maybe I left because I couldn't bear that you stayed and I still hurt. I don't understand all of it. I still miss him. I still hate what I've done. But you gave me the key. You gave me a door. Help me keep opening it for somebody else." No light split the ceiling. No voice thundered. But through the stained glass, amber light fell over his hands, and for once he did not pull them away. Months became a year. Benjamin's restitution to Tanya was paid slowly. She kept receipts. He kept copies. Their relationship remained honest and sometimes uncomfortable, which made it stronger than politeness. Ava's asthma improved with better clinic support, though she still carried an inhaler, and every time Benjamin saw it, he remembered the porch. Darius became youth night's unofficial assistant and official snack critic. Mrs. Martin ran the resource table with a clipboard like a general commanding mercy. Pastor Elias stepped back little by little, letting younger leaders rise, though he still appeared whenever coffee was weak or theology got suspicious. New Mercy's basement gained a reputation. Not glamorous, not easy, but open. Families came for groceries, prayer, counseling referrals, recovery meetings, tutoring, winter coats, and sometimes just warmth. Benjamin helped reopen the old gym twice a week. Teenagers played basketball under lights that flickered but held. Before each game, he said one sentence. "No one is disposable in this room." At first they mocked him. Then they repeated it. Then one night, when a fight nearly broke out, Darius stepped between two boys and said, "Man, didn't you hear, Mr. Aki? Nobody disposable." Benjamin went into the storage closet and cried among paper towels. He also faced consequences. A judge reviewed his case after the theft and, influenced by Tanya's statement, Pastor Elias's testimony, and Benjamin's cooperation, ordered restitution, community service, and continued recovery support rather than jail time. "Do not mistake mercy for softness," the judge said. "It's a harder road." Benjamin believed him. One winter evening nearly a year after the stolen backpack, Benjamin locked up after a youth night. Snow fell lightly over Detroit, softening broken sidewalks and resting on boarded houses, new murals, chain-link fences, and church steps. The liquor store across the street had fixed its sign. Cold beer glowed complete again. The church window shone faintly from the security light inside, Jesus' amberglass hand bright in the dark. Benjamin stood at the basement door with the key in his palm. It no longer looked like an accusation. It looked like what it was, a small piece of metal shaped to open a specific lock. Nothing more, nothing less. But in the strange economy of grace, small things became summons. A key, a backpack, a child's sticker on a glove, a piano note in an empty room, a prayer spoken badly, a door still willing to turn. Darius came out behind him, zipping his coat. "Mr. Key, you coming Saturday?" "I'm always here Saturday." "Yeah, but the clinic lady coming back. My cousin needs to talk to her." "I'll bring him. He might be high. Bring him anyway." Darius nodded, then lingered. "You ever think people can really change?" Benjamin looked at the snow falling through the streetlight. He thought of Ray, still locked up and refusing letters. He thought of Tanya's anger becoming partnership without becoming forgetfulness. He thought of his own hands returning medicine, scrubbing floors, unlocking doors. He thought of Marcus and the wound that remained. He thought of Jesus calling Mary's name in a garden of graves. Ah, yes, he said, but not like changing clothes. More like rebuilding a burned house while living in it. Ah, one board at a time. Some days you smell smoke. Some days you find a room you forgot was there. Ah, Darius frowned. That's weird. It's true. Can change start with pizza? Most holy things do. Darius grinned and jogged down the steps toward his aunt's car. Benjamin locked the basement door, then paused. He did not take the key off the ring. He no longer wanted to throw it away. He tucked it into his pocket and walked around to the front of the church. Snow covered the steps where he had stood that first night with a stolen bag and a heart boarded up tighter than the windows. He climbed them slowly. The front doors were closed, but not boarded. Behind them, the sanctuary waited for Sunday, for hymns, for people with clean coats and people with nowhere to wash, for restless children, tired mothers, old men, doubters, believers, thieves in recovery, saints with bad knees, and anyone else Jesus insisted on calling family. Benjamin rested his hand against the wood. Thank you, he whispered. The city answered with distant traffic, wind, a dog barking, a siren far away, the ordinary music of a place still wounded and still alive. He turned toward the street and began walking home under the falling snow, the church key warm in his pocket, not as a relic of who he had been, but as a promise of doors still opening. And if anyone had asked Benjamin Cole when his life changed, he would not have known whether to say it was the night he found the key, the moment he saw the medicine, the porch where a mother looked at him with fury and fear, the basement where Pastor Elias heard his confession, or the Easter dawn when amber light fell over his hands. Perhaps all of it was one long turning. Perhaps grace rarely enters a life all at once. Perhaps it comes like a key carried unknowingly for years, waiting until the night a man is tired enough of locked doors to try it. What Benjamin knew was this. Jesus had not excused his sin, but neither had he abandoned him to it. Mercy had not erased the harm, but it had shown him where to begin repairing. Faith had not returned as a feeling first, but as a door opened for a sick child, a table set for struggling families, a basement warmed for teenagers who needed somewhere safe, and a man learning every day to choose the lighted way home. The snow kept falling. The church stood behind him, no longer silent, no longer finished. And in his pocket, the old key moved with each step, small and steady, like a heartbeat finding its rhythm again.